Welcome to Waterworks Visual Arts Center's virtual sculpture art activity. I'm Jackie Black. During our first activity, we met one of America's most important sculptors, and we talked about why his work is important, and we engaged in an art activity using one of his favorite materials. Let's take a look at this bunny. Is this a drawing? Is it a sculpture? Or do you think it might be both? What are your thoughts? When a line becomes a sculpture. Welcome to sculpture activity number 2. Do you remember Alexander Calder? We met him during our first sculpture activity. He's the innovator of sculpture called mobiles. His sculptures could be tabletop tiny, or they could be huge. And they move, either by air currents or motors. Alex's mother was a portrait artist, and his father and grandfather were both sculptors. He made Dog and Duck as Christmas presents for his parents when he was in the 4th grade. The duck actually rocks back and forth when you tap its tail, and it's an early example of Alex's interest in combining art and movement. As a young man, Alex decided to study mechanical engineering. Mechanical engineers design, build, and operate machines, tools, and engines. Calder's first moving sculptures were motorized and used gears and pulleys. Dog and Duck may have been Alex's earliest animal sculptures, but he continued to make animal sculptures throughout his life. Calder's circus is one of his most well-known early works. He became fascinated with the circus while he was on assignment as an illustrator for a magazine. Those early circus sculptures combined his love of art and his training as a mechanical engineer. The continuous line lion in our first activity was actually inspired by the lion in Calder's circus. The sculptures in Calder's circus were important to the development of the mobiles he created later. Some of Calder's sculptures were made of just wire, and others, like the circus lion, were made of wire and other found materials. The horse is an example of wire sculpture and found materials. What materials and objects do you think were used to make this sculpture? How about this sculpture? What do you think this is? And now it's your turn. You're going to make a sculpture with objects and found materials. How lines and found objects become sculpture. A cat or her kitten will be our next project. Here is a list of the tools and materials you'll need for your sculpture. A pencil, flat nose pliers, wire cutters, needle nose pliers, cork for the body, an awl, nails, 16-gauge aluminum wire, drawing paper, and tape. Pause the video to get the supplies that you'll need. When you've gathered all your supplies, restart the video. All right, let's get busy. I've got all my tools I'm going to need for the project. And this is the kitty cat. This is the animal that I'm going to make. Now, if you would like to draw something else, that's fine. I've got my cork. This is going to be my animal's body. Wire for the head and legs and tail. I've got, this tool is the awl, and this is the tool I'm going to use to make holes in the cork for the body, so when I get ready to push the wire in there, I don't bend my wire. This wire is a very kid-friendly wire. We got this from the Dollar Tree. Nice wire, and it comes in different colors too. And if you don't have an awl to use to make the holes in the cork, you can always use a nail. I'm going to make a drawing of Kitty's head, and this is the body first of all. And I'm going to try to use one continuous line for my kitten's face and head. Around the head, ear, the side of the head, other ear, down and around, and then I'm going to come up and make Kitty's little nose, other side of Kitty's face, and down and stop. Okay, so for Kitty's legs, I'm going to draw 4 lines and just loop those. And then finally, Kitty's little tail. Alright, that's my kitten drawing, and I am satisfied. I've taped the wire to my drawing. Now I will trace the line and I'm going to bend that ear. It's not quite as pointy as in my drawing, but that's okay. I'm going to use the needle tool after I finish to go over it. So that I can make it more like the shape of my drawing. Now I'm going to twist around for Kitty's nose. Kitty's nose is a little crooked, but I can straighten that out later. I'll fix that later with the needle nose pliers. And I think I'll bring this on down and stop right there. And remember, so what I said, I wasn't quite satisfied with the shape of the ears. I wanted to be more like the drawing. And so I'm going to use these needle nose pliers to pinch my ears. Pinch Kitty's other ear. And I want Kitten's face to be pretty much symmetrical. Alright, that's Kitty's head. Now I'm going to make Kitty's legs. And I'm actually going to make these a little bit longer than they are in the drawing, because remember, part of this is going to go into the cork for the body. So we want to make it a little longer than we want our legs to be. So I think that'll do. I'll cut 4 pieces. I want Kitty's legs to be all the same size, the same length, to make Kitty's little foot. All right. Now, the bottom of each little leg for Kitty's foot, I'm just going to use the needle nose pliers, and I'm just going to twist this. So one little foot. Second little foot. See, I'm just going to pinch close to the end of the wire that I want to be the foot, and just twist. Pinch and twist. And then turn it up. 3. And this is foot number 4. This piece will be Kitten's tail, so I'm just going to bend this little end as well. End of the tail, and then twist it, and this will be Kitty's little tail. Ta-da! All right, Kitten. Now it's time to put you together. Very quickly, I wanted to share with you some alternative materials you could use for the body of your animal, and also show you a quick way to make holes in those materials that would be a little more kid-friendly. I'm going to start with the cork, because that's what we used earlier in our video. And we thought that perhaps instead of using the nail or the awl, which might be a little trickier for kids to use, what about using a push pin? And what you would do is push the pin in wherever you want the head or the legs or tails to go, twist it around a little bit and pull it out, and then use this the needle nose pliers to help you push it into the cork. And we thought this would be safer than either using the nail tool, the nail or the awl tool. So that's one way. Another material we thought you might be able to use if you have it around the house is styrofoam. The styrofoam can be purchased at craft stores in other shapes and then carved. And this is already shaped like a cylinder, the shape I used to make my cat's body earlier. You do the same thing. Use the push pin, to make a hole and put the head or the legs or tail in, and use the needle nose pliers. And the reason I recommend this is if you try to push this down sometimes with your hands, you end up bending your wire more than you want to. So the needle nose pliers, these needle nose pliers are very helpful in pushing your wire into your object that you're going to use for the body. And finally, another material is foil. Now the neat thing about foil is, of course, you can shape this and sculpt this into different shapes. I've got a ball here and a cylinder here. And again, use the push pin to make your hole. And push in your head. The thing about the foil, though, is you don't want to when you're molding and shaping, sculpting your shape, you don't want to squeeze it too tight. It'll make it harder to push the wire in. The other thing is sometimes the foil can be a little loose, and so you might want to drop a dot of hot glue in there, or glue, so that the neck or the head or the legs stay in place and don't move around with the foil. But like I said, the foil is really neat because you can sculpt it into so many different shapes. Push that in. It goes in pretty easily. And I hope those ideas are helpful. All right, I've got Kitten's body now. And I'm not going to try to push the legs inside the cork. That's going to be hard to do. Plus, this is such soft wire that I might bend it. I'll use a nail for the hole and decide where I want Kitty's head to be. I think right about here. Press that in. It's going, it's going, it's going. I'm going to wiggle it around a little bit so that I'm sure that I have a big enough hole. Okay, Kitty's legs. I've got the awl tool now. Let your parents use the nail and awl tool. I want to make sure they kind of line up with Kitty's head, but I want to put them on the side of the body, so I'm using the awl tool this time instead of the nail, just so you can see how to use both of the different tools. All right, and I'm going to stick Kitty's little leg in there. Number 1. Other side. I want to line those up. Leg number 2. Woohoo! Kitty's got 2 legs. Okay, and now we're going to make a hole and position leg number 3. And leg number 4. And then we'll use the wire, push it in the hole for the legs. the last two legs. And leg number 4. Okay. Kitten's got 4 legs. Now we're going to add Kitty's little tail. I want to line it up with Kitty's neck and then put it on the back, on Kitty's little rear end. That's where a kitten's tail is supposed to be. Get in there, little tail. Okay. And there is kitten's little tail. And here is my sculpture. I'm going to do some work on Kitty's feet and legs and straighten those out some more. But this is our sculpture. This is our kitten. Our sculpture made with wire and found material, a cork, for the body. I hope you enjoyed the experience. And if you make a sculpture, please share it with us.